make them live. Hey everybody, welcome to our live Q&A conscious parenting event. My name is Petro. I'm the founder of Teach Through Love, and it looks like we're all ready to go. I'm excited to be back here with you guys again on for another monthly Q&A. We had our last one last month. If you didn't catch it, you can sign up. Actually, you don't need to sign up because we did it on Facebook Live, so you can just go over onto Facebook and it's posted there with all the questions. I think I added it to YouTube too, so if you follow me there, you can. If you don't follow me, if you're new here, you can go to my website. You can click the link that was in the post here and sign up for our free preview series, our Peaceful Solutions for Parents and Kids. We just did a preview series. The last video went out yesterday. If you have trouble yelling or with your anger, these are things that I'm very familiar with, and so I would be glad to help you walk through that path of getting rid of anger. Actually, not getting rid of it, I shouldn't say that, not really getting rid of it, but learning how to manage it. I'm not perfect. In fact, making that How to Stop Yelling video, I found myself yelling a lot. So there were so many glitches with everything, and I was yelling, and I'm like, I'm making a video on yelling, and I'm yelling. So I'm going to be doing these exercises again with you because it's a constant work in progress. It's not something that we figure out and then, oh, it's all gone and we're not angry anymore and we don't yell, and it's really not that. It's a constant evolution of our own personal development, really. So that is what our 3-lesson preview series was really about. It was, let's make the shift. How do we really, what do we really need to take this conscious parenting philosophy, which can be so abstract? It's like, yeah, I get it. I want to be nice to my kid. I want to be conscious. But what does that even really mean for most of us? It's like, okay, great. Yeah, I would be kind, but I'm really mad right now. What do I do? And that's what we really think. So what we have to start to do is learn to, one, make the decision that we want to change. And then it's just practice and repetition, just like with your kids. If you're going to start shaping new neural activity in your brain to make you more conscious, more regulated, able to handle that anger, then you have to start putting into practice some of, okay, I won't even say don't do them all. Just start with a couple, because I know some of us are so overwhelmed. Hi, Jill. It's just starting to tell me who's joining, or maybe it only tells me my friends that are joining, so I'm not sure, but hi you guys, I see that you guys are out there. So I'm gonna do the how to stop yelling activities with you, and I've got some questions that were posted. Post your questions here in the comments, and if you guys want to, oh, I forgot to bring it with me, Rest, Play, Grow. I can't even run, how silly am I? Deborah McNamara, Dr. Deborah McNamara's new book, I'm gonna give away a copy. So if you have a child, it's called Rest, Play, Grow, and How to Make Sense of Preschoolers or Anyone Who Acts Like One. So if you have a young child, hello Eric, if you have a young child that's under 4 and you want a copy of this book, post in the comments, I want a copy, and then we are going to choose from the people in the comments. Your comments will stay, and then we'll let you know who wins that. And I'm such a bad marketer, I forgot to bring Deborah McNamara's book because I think it was really wonderful, and it just helps us make sense of children who are struggling with aggression, because that was some of the questions that were sent to me, and some of it's developmental, right? We talked about very young children, or maybe not in this series, but I have talked about this in the past. Very young children just don't have the brain capacity to handle, oh, I understand that, I need to share with Sally, but I really want this right now. And they can't really separate all of that out and stop their impulses. So it's a lot of developmental challenges with young children. So somebody had emailed in a question about a 2-year-old that's really aggressive, and actually a 3.5-year-old who is also really aggressive. And this is where our biggest shifts will come, okay? Your kid's anger is so helpful to enabling you to handle all kinds of stress. So while it may seem like this is just another conflict that I have to deal with, it really, really, really is beneficial to your growth, not only to their growth, because every time your children, of course, get to practice and experience your loving, compassionate care, but firm boundaries. I mean, I'm not saying, oh yeah, you sit back and he's having a moment, I'm gonna let him throw everything all over the house while he gets that anger out. No, I would never, 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 ever suggest that. I don't think there's any conscious parenting anybody out there that's going to suggest that we let children just do whatever they want. But we have to let them feel what they feel. And handling young children's anger and aggression can get really scary for people. So it's not really, people say, well, what do I do when and it's, what is your goal, right? Our goal is skills, stress, state of the relationship. Right? I always want us to look for, what am I trying to solve here? Am I trying to actually practice skills? Do we need to, I work a lot with parents of sensitive kids because I was a sensitive kid, and they can be really intense, and we can say, I don't know how to handle this child. They're just everything is intense for them. Everything upsets them. Or they're really rigid and inflexible, and they want to tell everybody what to do. And these are gifts that when we're young can be really destabilizing for us and debilitating almost, because they get in the way of what our minds want to do, but sometimes our language isn't there or our impulse control isn't there. But we have these minds they're deep thinkers, and all children, feel their emotions deeply in the same ways that adults do. I think sometimes we think, oh, they have no reason to be angry. Just get over it. Rebecca Eanes of Positive Parenting, Toddlers and Beyond has a wonderful quote out there about, that children aren't afforded the same kind of bad day. And it was a really popular, Facebook picture that went around because it really hits you. It's like, yeah, we don't give, because their emotions are so frequent and sometimes so big, and when we build these negative interactions built into the traditional parenting, which sort of separates and disconnects us, over time, they start to resent that. And we start to resent them for never getting any better, but we don't realize that it's actually our discipline that has gotten in the way of them growing their skills. I talk about the yelling and the anger as the last video because so many of you guys are struggling with it. And a lot of you, and I've gotten so many comments and people saying, I don't feel so alone anymore. And yes, I don't think there's a parent out there, well, maybe there are some, but that doesn't really struggle with this anger that comes up when our kids defy us or say no. And sometimes it's for really intense, serious reasons. And yes, we have a right to be angry, and we have a right to our feelings no matter what. But sometimes those feelings are fueled by our perceptions, and not what's really going on in the moment, but actually what we think about what's going on. They're disrespecting me. How dare they, after all I've done? All of these things that can come up. And sensitive kids, 1 in 5, they say, so 20% roughly of kids are going to be even more pushback against some of those traditional parenting methods. And you may not see the pushback. The pushback may come in the form of withdrawing, shutting down. It doesn't have to look like dysregulation, where a kid can't control their impulses. It means sometimes they can't control their impulses, so they sneak away and they steal stuff, or they eat. What do we do when we can't deal with our feelings? We might binge on TV, or we might go shopping, or we might go into drugs and alcohol, and that has bigger consequences, but it's filling up that same void, that same need that we have. So this is what I'm trying to help everybody get past, is creating this deep sense of, what's wrong with me? I have so much and yet I'm not happy. I don't know, do you guys ever feel like that? Like I have all this, why is life so hard? Why am I not happier? And that comes in and it makes us second guess ourselves. So my whole thing for conscious parenting is not oh, let me answer every one of your questions. It's, okay, let me help you find out the process that you do so that you know the answer, so that you guys are in that moment. And yes, maybe you start out going, I don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say. So maybe you don't say anything. Maybe you look at your 7-year-old and you say, you know what? I'm so angry and I don't even know what to say because I don't want to yell at you because I love you and I care about you. And you just say that, right? Just say that. But we don't. We doubt ourselves and we're like, oh, they're not changing. They're just not shifting fast enough. Why aren't they? And sometimes it's because they're too young, and we have to understand that brain development doesn't happen with us telling children how it goes or what they should do. It really, really doesn't. And I know that I used to think this even when I first got my degree 150 years ago is what it feels like. Nobody was talking about this. It was out there. There were people writing about it, but I was not presented with these tools when I was an education major in college in the 90s, right? It really wasn't that long ago. But it was not presented to me. So I remember being an early childhood educator and using, it was all about positive reinforcement, right? And, noticing when children are doing what you want them to do and then going over and letting them know that you noticed that so that they would do that more. And I was like, oh yeah, this works, this is good. I wrote in my student teaching journals. I pulled them out and I looked and I wrote about how much more effective that was. I just thought that was fascinating. I have to pull those out and post stuff and write stuff about that because my perspective was so different. So your perspective will continue to evolve. And then you'll yell again and then be like, oh, there's more layers, there's more crap that I have to get out before I stop yelling at my kids. And that's okay. Oh, and a lot of people have written in saying, I know how detrimental this is. I can't stop it. I know that it's bad. And I want you to know that I wasn't telling you guys the effects that it can have because I think that you don't know, although some people really don't know. Some people yell and just have no idea that it actually does shape your child's brain. It shapes their capacity for learning. It shapes everything, their self-regulation, how they think about themselves, how they view their environment. When kids become really inflexible or resistant, we have to look at how cared for do they feel in the family. This is one that my daughter taught me because when she doesn't do things, if I ask her for something and she doesn't do it, and then I have the conversation, I can stay calm enough to find out why, she lets me know, well, you don't care about what I want. And I was like, wow. It's like, how often or how much of our day do our children spend thinking that we don't care about them because we're like, get your shoes, eat your dinner, pack your bag, go here, do this. Why haven't you done that? Just pick it up. Come on, please, will you help me? And then we beg. We're like, oh, please, just do what I ask. We whine. And then we're like, why are they whining? No, I'm just kidding. I whine. I do. I whine to my kid, and then I catch myself. And I'm like, stop whining. Don't whine. I yell more than I whine. I'm not really a big whiner, but some of you guys, do you whine? I know that can be like, we feel like we're trying to be kind and we just look like big old, and somebody got the likes. Oh, look, I got high school friends here. Hi, you guys. We got Jen and Julie. That's fun. I love seeing old friends. And Anjani is here. Anjani wants one of those books. I'm scrolling on here. I have my iPad down here, but it keeps going off. So how do we get around it? It's just practice, you guys. Can you just saying hi back? And Kelly's here. Hi, Kelly. Last time I didn't talk to anybody because people are always so crazy about privacy. And then my friends and colleagues were like, interact. It's okay. Say their name. So I was like, yeah, I should say their name. So nice to see you guys. And post your questions. And if you just joined, we're giving away a copy of Deborah McNamara's book, Rest, Play, Grow. I hope I'm saying that in the right order. How to make sense of preschoolers or anyone who acts like one. So if you have a partner who can act like a preschooler, or if you do sometimes, you can learn all about the brain and what's going on in there and how we build the function, the ability to self-regulate. if you grew up in a home, and not everybody did, but if you grew up in a home that had a lot of conflict, and this was some of the questions that came in, and then there's conflict with your partner. How do we do that? How do we deal with that? And this is where there's no one simple answer, right? We can't come here and get all the answers, but you have to make small changes. So start getting really clear on what you need to change. Roxanne's like, I need that book, so yes. What do we need to change? What is it that you're looking, because you can't work on, I want my child to listen to me, I want them to pick up their clothes, I need them to do their homework, I want, my partner to speak nicely to me, or I want my kids to, listen to my partner more, I need my partner to stop yelling. We have like 50,000 things that we want to get done because we feel like that's creating all the conflict. And there was an amazing question from Carrie Ann's asking, how do you win the book? You can win the book, you did it. You just comment in the section and we're going to choose a winner. So that's all you need to do on that. So we had a question come in from a mom who's really in the struggle with her partner and wondering, I see now how this is affecting the kids, but the amazing thing that she said was she's having this one particular issue with her daughter, and as soon as she let go of all of the fear that was bound up in this one issue, her daughter started to open up. And the issue seems like it's tied to an emotional stress, because there's a lot of sort of back and forth. We stay conscious, but then maybe we have one partner that is not so conscious and keeps reinforcing this cycle of yelling. And that's what was happening in this mom's home. And so that's, it's really difficult for children. Yes, you can be a buffer to their stress. You can come in and say, what, I bet that was really scary when mommy yelled. Or I bet that was really scary when daddy slammed the door like that. And that's it. Stop there. We don't need to do the but blah, 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 and but he loves you, or but. When we want to validate and honor with our kids, and this is where we get ourselves in trouble, is because we do the buts. We want to add the but on to everything that we say. That's it. Just validate. That was really scary for you when everybody was yelling, and that, I bet that's why you ran in and you hit your brother on the head. Start to connect the stress from the conflict, from the emotional climate in your home to your kids' behaviors. So just bringing it back around to our 3 points, the 3 areas that we want to look at when our kids are having, what we see as negative behavior, when that's going on. Skills, stress, state of the relationship. Sometimes it's a combination, especially if you have younger children. That they just don't have the skill to stop grabbing. So we say, you know what? I'm going to help you. Can't grab that. I'm not going to let you grab. And then that's it. Just, you're frustrated. And then let them have the frustration. I think that we think that if we let them feel their feelings, if we let them cry, or if we let them say, I hate this, that they'll never accept it. And it's actually the opposite. I agree with my kid, this is unfair, and you hate that I'm making this decision. You don't want me to, because she's 10 now. She doesn't really want me making decisions. And it's also an opportunity for me to step back and go, okay, do I need to make this decision for her? Or can I let her make this? Can I give her more autonomy in this situation? Kids really do want to feel like they're capable. And so when we say those words that we talked about in the first video, and if you haven't watched the videos, you can just come on over to the page and find all the links, everything's there. The why haven't you, why can't you just do this? Or why, we ask them questions, we challenge them, like, why didn't you do the limit? It's like, we're just asking that. Are we really looking for an answer? We're not going to get an answer that's going to be, most likely, legitimate for us, right? So really, we're trying to get them to fess up. We want them to feel like, I want you to feel responsible for this. But the responsibility comes through the reflection. And the reflection comes through feeling like, okay, I made a mistake, but I'm still likable and I'm still lovable. And another big thing that my daughter taught me is that when I used my anger unconsciously, it sent her the message that I didn't love her. And I remember as a kid, the best word that I could say to my mother was, "I hate you." That would drive her up the wall. So you know what I would do? I would use it. And I wasn't using it because I was a bad kid that needed discipline or didn't show respect. I was a kid who felt supremely disrespected by the treatment of the people that I loved, that were in my immediate family, that were supposed to care for me in this way. And this isn't to blame them. No, it's not bad parenting, blah, blah, nobody knew. Okay, let's get to now, why I do the things that I do. It's about that. But I would use that as a kid because I felt as the child, you don't love me? Well, guess what? I hate you. And that's what it was coming out. It was my anger coming out. And it got her attention. And my daughter has told, you're the worst mom in the world. She'll give me that. And that, Eric is saying, I did that too, felt very disrespected and hurt. And I know, Eric, that we have not exactly, but similar experiences in where the blame and the shame was used to control the behavior, and in unhealthy ways. Not everybody has, such dysfunction in their households, but a lot of us do. So I speak to all of you, but I definitely speak to you guys that know that felt so disrespected and unheard by your families, by your parents, by your caregivers, whoever it was. A lot of it's culture and tradition. My family, the culture very much controlled, so did some, mental health issues, but culture very much defined and I was the oldest girl, so it very much defined what I was allowed to do and how I was treated, how I was punished. And so that, and what respect was seen, respect was this big thing. And no, I was not respectful as a child a lot of the time, but I was the sensitive kid that was like, oh no, you're going to do that to me? No, I'm not going to back down. And sometimes I did back down, and then eventually I shut down, and I also hightailed it out of there 3,000 miles away as soon as I could. I was like, see you guys, bye-bye, I'm going to go figure this out. And I spent the next 10 years in my 20s learning so much about myself and about what I went through and about, I'm not, I don't need to blame anybody, but I also don't need to blame myself because I spent a lot of time blaming myself. And so we blame ourselves, right, for being those kids and coming back to, why aren't I happy? Or why don't my kids listen to me? Listen to me. And then we judge our own parenting. Well, they're not listening to me, so I must, suck at this. I'm going back to the traditional stuff. Sarah's saying, very similar experience. She definitely wants to break the cycle. So those of you that are breaking the cycle, it's hard. It's not easy. It's not even close to being a joyride sometimes. But it is, I think I have a lot more peace than I know that if I parented my daughter with traditional discipline or timeouts, she would be an angry kid because she's got intense emotions. And she would be a really angry kid if I never let all of those intense big emotions come out. She would have an anger problem. She wouldn't necessarily be able to self-regulate in the ways that she's able to. And again, not blame. Our brains can grow at any time. You can grow your self-regulation today. So don't think that, well, I'm screwed. I may as well give up and stick to what I'm doing. It's really not like that. It really isn't. When he's saying, the phrase that gets me is, kids these days have no respect. Parents don't raise them right. Yes, and doesn't every generation end up saying that? It's so true. Alfie Kohn has a great article about it, and he starts off writing 3 paragraphs about that, kids these days, and then he dates them at the end, and you see that one was like in 1912, one was in 1952, one was in 1969. But it was that early. It was like old, and it said the same thing. So that's a way to keep us in that fear state. right? It's all about control at that point. It's how do I feel, you know, if I feel like I'm controlled by these ideas that kids aren't, you know, growing up right, and I could be the cause of it, that's enough to cause you to judge yourself if society is out there. I mean, you guys saw that video I did. I have people that email me and then they like to tell me exactly what they think. Because I say a lot of what I think, right? So I have to accept it. Or they'll post on my YouTube. And my daughter is, you know, society is going to hell because I'm helping all of you guys do this. Right. Definitely. So we can let, I think, a lot of that go when we start to let the fear go. And what's that fear connected to, really? It's all connected to this belief that, you know, I'm not doing it right, or, you know, they're not listening to me. When you can get really comfortable with your kid saying, you know, well, that sucks, I don't like this, and this is stupid, and then you don't want to argue, you just sit there and, I know, hon. Can I do anything for you? Like, that's it. Real neutral, very non-reactive, but it's not unemotional. It's very much about, I'm present in my body. I'm feeling in my body. So you guys that are asking about the tools, you know, there was one question. Let me go up here. I have my iPad in front of me, but I can see them better here. Where'd it go? I would like to access the calming myself down rather than instantly reactivating with thought. Anjani was asking that. So what do we do when you're in that moment and the kid is yelling? So as long as nobody is, you know, like we said last time, on fire, nobody's going to be hurt, then you can take the time. You can take the time to breathe through things. You can take the time to not immediately go for, you know, what is this? What are you doing? Stop it. That. And breathe. And the first thing you do is, okay, where do I feel it in my body? Don't even try to figure out, oh, I'm angry, I'm sad. Forget the feelings for a moment. And they're important. But getting in your body, a lot of us that have experienced trauma shut off the feelings in our body. We numb it out. So when we start to get angry, we have no idea that we've just had this, you know, dump of stress hormones into our bodies and brains. We don't even realize that our jaws are like clenched and our foreheads are all up and crazy. We're just completely unaware. If you are aware, then good, stay there. That's where you want to be. Really aware of what's happening in my body. Because that's how you shut it off. Every time you stop and you go drop into your body, you become aware of what's happening and not off on the road of what you think might be happening. And it sounds like, and people say, well, I can't do that. You might not be able to do it right now, but every time you practice, you get better. Michelle's saying, I have so much trouble calming myself down when my boys continue hitting. So the hitting, you know, we got to separate the children at that point. I'm not sure how old your kids are. You can type it in there, Michelle. Because, you know, when they're really little, you can handle that. You can handle the separation much better. But if they're big, you go in and you go, guys, this is too much. I'm afraid for you guys. You're hitting each other. Like, we got to take some time. You know, that's not, for me, that's not judging, or that's saying, like, I'm feeling the intensity of the situation. I'm worried for your safety. We got to take some time apart. And then, you know, one goes outside, 2.5 and 3.5. So yeah, you can't really like set them away, but you take the 2-year-old, you pick them up. Telling little children that they're safe is something, little children, sensitive children, when kids get triggered, it's a very primal reaction to the feeling of being unsafe. You say, oh, they just got their toy taken. There's no safety issue. But to the immature mind, it's a safety issue. So to the 2.5 and 3.5-year-olds who are having those experiences where the physicality is really intense, which is very normal, even the aggression and that fighting and hitting peaks right in that age, you know, 2, 3, 4 years old. So you are right in the thick of it because the prefrontal cortex, so the thinking brain, the executive center, has not yet established secure connections, and won't for another 20 years or so, but it gets better. It's just not very good, and it can be very heavily influenced by the emotional climate and the relationship, of course. That relationship has to do a lot with the climate in our home. What is it like? Do you spend the day, ordering kids around, saying stop it, don't? Then we know, okay, I gotta step back and see. And that's why I said film yourself. If you have kids that are really inflexible, resistant, and you're like, I have no idea why, just film yourself in a couple of interactions. You don't need to show it to anybody, but watch it. You might see that your face looks incredibly scary to yourself on the video. I look scary when I yell. And so we have to take into consideration what that looks like to a 2-year-old or a 7-year-old or even a 10-year-old. Because the 10-year-old goes, you know what, I don't have to look at that face anymore. I'm going to go in my room and hide away. And the 15-year-old goes, I'm going out with my friends. And then suddenly we start losing, hi Angie, Angie was finally able to make it. And Michelle's saying that her kids are both the orchid kids. So that's what they've called sensitive children, those 1 in 5 highly sensitive people. This is just, and this isn't, I don't like labels to separate us. I like labels that give us information. But I feel like, we're all on a spectrum and it's called human. And that is not to downplay serious, intense medical issues or, developmental delays, but knowing that we can all learn in our own way and knowing that we all have a purpose. I think if I had listened, to the people that told me that I had no personality or that, I was smart, but I didn't apply myself, I took away some really crappy thinking about myself from the people who tried to motivate me to do better. And you guys may have too. I mean, most of us have. Most of us, just because of the generational aspect, got this parenting that was more about, you listen to me because I'm the adult, I'm the authority. And I want us to be the leaders, I want us to be leaders in our home. But leaders are all about, follow me, let me guide you. Whereas the authority is about, I will control you, you must obey me, and that kind of thing. So the language is huge. I know I do those conscious communication cards every day. And that simple switch from, we just stop doing that. I'm going to get it. Just as an example, you want your kid to stop it, you're going to help. But we do it. We come in with such intensity, such emotion, such intense emotion, that we tell our children's brains, we say, oh, this is a situation, you can tell by the tone of my voice that you must perk up and be alert for threat. We have no idea. Most of us have no idea that that's happening. And what we do is then we create this adversarial relationship where it's not I'm going to help you in this situation. It's, there's a threat and you might be the cause of it, or your behavior might be the cause of it, so you better watch out. Or you better figure it out, kid. And we do it because we're stressed and we just want them to listen, We may not even, and we may go back and we may repair with our children. But follow up your repair with, this is what I'm going to do next time, buddy. You know what? I know that this yelling is not good and I did it. I broke my own rule. This is what I'm going to do next time. What are you going to do? So go to our sensory tool list. And I gave you a few ideas. It's a more complete list, of course, in my classes, but I gave you a few in those worksheets, things that you can do and use to calm the stress reaction. Engage your senses. Sometimes we try to think about getting ourselves through the anger. Like, okay, I'm not going to get angry. All right, I'm breathing, but I'm still thinking. I'm still in this place where I'm focused on what am I going to say next. And we can't bring language together when we're stressed out. We can't express ourselves. I can't even talk, bring language together. We can't express ourselves
in ways that make people want to listen to us when we're feeling frustrated or defensive. And you can see that clearly. Just go look on Facebook comments, right? Anywhere. And you see these interactions that are just, nobody's listening to each other. Everybody's just sort of saying what they think and feel, which is great. We all need a platform for that. But the cooperation and the peace for your children in your home comes from you being able to say, I really want to know what this experience is like for you. I want to know what it's like for you to have to clean up your room. You know, I know that sounds silly. I'm not saying this is how you present your limits. This is the intention that you want to present to your children. You know, I know that you're really tired. This is a big job for this evening. Why don't I help you pick out one? We can start with just one thing. You want to just bring all your clothes to the laundry room? You know, and not berating our kids for the fact of, well, if you had just done this earlier, you wouldn't be so tired. I told you to do it before you went out to basketball practice. Why didn't you do that? And then we like overload our kids with all the wrong when they're already in a place of not being able to really think, or being afraid of like, oh, I didn't do it. I'm going to disappoint somebody. And then that person comes in and they're like, yep, you were a disappointment again. And again, we do it because we think, oh, I'm going to motivate you. Just think before you ask, or think before you act or ask. And then our kids go, you know, where's the help? Who cares about me? It's all about your agenda. It's all about what you want to do. And I got to say, as a parent, sometimes I do that. I'm like, yeah, this is about me. Now, granted, sometimes it's, okay, we need to move things along, and yes, but it's not all the time, and that's the mistake we make. We make it so much of the time that when we really do need to lead our children through something that they don't want to do, because your kids just, they're not going to want to do everything you want to do. So please don't expect that. That will help you like let go of some of that pressure. When you set the limit, as long as you do it with respect and without changing your mind because you're afraid of the emotion or the pushback that you're going to get, then you've done it. You have created what needs to happen. You've created a safe space, you've created a boundary, and you're letting your child express themselves. That's what that, and we think, oh, that's not enough because they haven't agreed with me. They haven't said, you know what, you're right, Mom, I should do that right now. They're not going to. That's, if you have a child out there that does that most of the time, not just once in a while or, you know, but really, they're not. Okay, they are sometimes. I mean, my kid's pretty agreeable, but when, it's because I give a lot of leeway. I don't make everything such a big deal, you know, and trust me, I make a lot of things a big deal. Way less, though, than when I was a kid, and way less than some of the traditional parenting expects you to do. Some of you guys have are being led by these ideas of control and respect that are grounded in fear-based thinking. And we can't respect people that we think are afraid or are out of control. So when we're using our force with our kids, they really don't feel so, they don't feel like they, you know, that we care about them, and we're not giving them any quality feedback about the situation because we're just using our anger or our force. And it seems like if I have to force things, then I'm afraid of things getting out of control, and I'm afraid of you taking the control away. So many parents are, and I've gotten myself into this, and I'll talk myself down off a ledge, but it's like we see the conflict as somebody's gonna, you know, get one over on me, take advantage of me, and we let our actions be run by that script, and that's just talk in your head, and a lot of that talk comes from the messages that you got when you were a kid. So going back to those 5 steps, you know, these are the 5 steps that I need to take. One of them is investigating your history. How was I parented? What was it like growing up in my house? This is not so that you can have a therapy session and try to, you know, uncover every little reason why you do things. It's just to bring yourself back into your your own knowing. The intuitive you knows. That's what I always say. The intuitive you knows what to do. It's been stomped out with a lot of blame, shame, judgment, guilt, and fear. So we slowly let it creep back out and up. And that's why there are no right and wrong answers to this stuff. It's not, oh, do this. When your child doesn't listen, oh, this is what you do. You do the, well, if then, or the ask it and when, or whatever those, there's so many like tricks. And I have acronyms and things, but it's not about the tricks. It's about how connected do I feel in this moment? What am I trying to get to happen? What do you want to happen? Not only just what do I want as the parent, but what does my child really want to happen in this moment? Can I acknowledge that? I don't need to give it to them. There was a little kid who was like 2 or 3. I was giving a talk at it was a group home for abused mothers. And there was a little boy, as I was leaving, we were having a conversation with one of the staff members and one of the moms. The little boy comes in and he wanted to see his grandma. And he was like, I want to go to grandma's house. I want her now. And he was getting, it was only like 2 or 3. And he was gradually getting more and more intense. And mom was saying, we just left her. She spent all that time with you and we're going to see her next week and you have to wait. And she was trying to motivate him to get through it and sort of accept it. And I just said to him, wow, you really wish you could see grandma right now, huh? And he just looked at me and he went, uh-huh. It'd be so much fun if she could come back and play with you. Maybe even have a sleepover. He went, yeah. And then he was playing with his truck and he wandered off. He didn't even that was it. He was like, yeah. And he was done. Suddenly he felt, and mom and the staff member were like, that's what I was just talking about. Just acknowledge, just validate. Don't try to convince your kids that it'll be better later. Because when they're little, their perspective is just too narrow to see it. And when they're older, they want to feel like what they're feeling in that moment. Frustration, disappointment, being left out. I have, excuse me guys, I'm talking so much. Post your questions in here. Maria is saying, I'm just jumping in. I recently watched your Tell Me More video and it's worked well on my sensitive 4-year-old. Once she's done telling me more about the why of her emotions, I'm at a loss on what to say. This is where you guys get caught up. So what do you want to do in this moment? You just let her tell you and then you what's the next situation? What are you doing? If it's about, oh, I want ice cream and we can't have it and we're having dinner, well, are we going to be sitting down to the table? Am I going to give her an activity? Sometimes it's boredom. Our kid, we're busy doing stuff and our young children are sort of meandering about waiting for the next transition and they get frustrated with that boredom or they get tired of waiting for someone to connect with. I had an only child, I just have one. So there was a lot of her feeling, if I had to do something or her dad had to do something and there wasn't that attention on her, we had to let her feel that discomfort and find her way through it because I wasn't always going to, be there to be able to play with her. Now, granted, when they're really young, I think they need that attention. We have to give it to them as much as possible because we're human beings. We're wired to connect. And if we feel like there's no one to connect with, that's when, we start to have challenges. But at the same time, we want our kids to feel their discomfort. So don't say anything. If she asks again, you just smile. And I don't know, I don't keep saying no. Once I've said no, like to whatever the issue is, and say I've said, I know that this is really important to you and you wish that it could happen. Tell me more about what it would be like. Once we get through that, and then if she says at the end, so can I might just smile and I say, sweetie, you're having, some trouble with this. What can I do? Right? I don't keep, because my kid will ask. She'll be like, why? And is there more? And okay, give me another reason. I need a reason. And then I'll give her the reason. No, that's not, I need a different reason. She could ask for reasons all day long about things. So stop feeling like you need to negotiate and give your kids those reasons or legitimize your reasons. Angie's saying just be there and hold them in the moment. Because I've learned from you that gentle and firm boundaries still, but no shame, blame, guilt, or judgment, just empathy and understanding. Yeah, it's really just about, definitely don't keep saying no. Melissa's like, don't keep saying no, I like it. Definitely, if you have a kid like mine who, she'll just ask you all day, okay, give me another reason. Well, I don't like that one. I need to know why I can't watch any more TV. well, honey, we talked about this and the reason is, and I give her the reason, and maybe I do give her 3 reasons. She might keep asking. And that persistence, I love that persistence, because that persistence, while she cannot necessarily, yeah, they're like little attorneys, Melissa's saying. Yes. And she's 10, so she has a lot more ability to regulate her emotions. The 3-year-old, like, don't argue with the 3-year-olds. Please don't keep saying no to the 3-year-olds, because they are the attorneys that can really argue too. And they'll keep asking why, well, why not? My mom used to say when I was young, I remember her saying that why, this is like written in my baby book, that was the question, why? Everything, I needed to know why. I just wanted to know. And honestly, there probably were no answers that were sufficient enough to make the feeling go away. If it was a feeling of, I don't like this feeling, because that's what my daughter will, she's trying to get the feeling to go away. So when I say no more TV or no more whatever it is, it creates this resistance in her because she wants something. She has every right to want it. And there's an obstacle. And so we don't develop the capacity to restrain our impulses by someone giving us reasons. But in that young, immature state, she's just trying to get that feeling to feel better. She's just trying to she wants to feel good, and that's not a bad thing either. So she may be saying, I want more TV, or I want ice cream, and not letting go of it. But if I get frustrated with her desire to experience something, what does that get me? What does that teach her? Don't experience things. Don't have joy and love and passion and desire, because you know what? The first person that tells you no, you better listen. Right? We got to think about long-term messages that we're sending. It's not about the candy bar or the toy truck or the putting away. It's not about that in the moment. It's about what is the quality feedback that I'm sending my kid about their situation. You want that ice cream. You want the TV because it calms you down. It relaxes you. You like to chill out. So you want to chill out right now. And she might scream and cry, and she may go into her room. And then she chills out. Because I've just said that's what you want. I acknowledge that she just wanted this. I didn't get mad at her because she persisted in trying to get it. It's such a little shift, but we feel that the need to keep legitimizing our limits. Maria's saying that makes so much sense. I'm so glad I found. Yes, definitely. It's so much of it is logical, but really the application is where we get a little, it gets a little tricky, right? It can get tough because we want the change right there in the moment. We want maturity to happen yesterday. It's getting really sunny now. Okay, still in the light. I won't burst into flames or anything. But we want the behavior to change right in that moment. And when it doesn't, we get so stressed out that we want to feel better. So we keep giving answers thinking, well, if I give you one more answer that makes sense, you'll get it. No, it's really about, you want this and I need to do this because I'm the parent and I have to put this boundary in there and you don't like it. Like, I get that. I totally get that. I just say that to her. Now, again, you have to adjust if you have a 3-year-old, I used to mirror her intensity. And there's a lot of people that don't like the, How to Talk to Toddlers book, or I forget what it's called, the Harvey Karp book. A lot of people don't like that because it's like you're imitating or mimicking the kids. I did not find that at all. When my kid was mad, because she was a sensitive kid, so when she was like, I don't like this, she would be 3, and I'd be like, oh, you don't like it, I can feel it in my body. Help your kids feel it in the body, right? When your little kids are getting angry and intense, and when you see them go to pick something up, I can't let you throw that, but I can tell that you have all this energy in your body, let's shake it out, right? And we start shaking it out. How do you break up the tension? Use your senses, right? Start, pick up a ball that you can bounce around. If you have a light ball, obviously not something that's going to, break, but, a ball filled with air or things to squeeze. Do that. Now, these sensory exercises, make time to do them
not just in the moment of conflict, because that's sometimes when our kids are like, you know, get away from me, I don't want to do your stress relieving exercises, and you know, they may just be screaming, it may not be coming out like that, but we've already lost them, so we can't quite, you know, throw the stress ball at them, be like, come on, squeeze it, you'll feel better. Sometimes we do. Sometimes, you know, go in and hand them things to help get that pressure out when you see them start to build, but try to catch them, try to catch the buildup, and you'll notice the buildup. If you are aware of the situation, if you go into the conflict wanting to give your kids tools and skills instead of wanting the conflict to go away, you'll get a lot more positive feedback when you try to actually offer the skills. But set up a time in, you know, when you're not having the conflict, bring out a basket, a ball, a box of toys, things that we can use to regulate our senses. Stress balls, things, you know, again, snuggly, you know, does your child have a favorite stuffed animal, or do they have a tent that they like to go in and hide? Because, you know, that gives us sort of the privacy to calm down. When animals get scared, right, we either run away or we get aggressive. So we have to look at this negative behavior as a step in the development of our children's brains. It's not, oh, I have a bad kid. I have a kid that doesn't listen. Me too. And so does Winnie and Kimmy and Angie and Sarah and Maria and Melissa and Heather and Amanda Lynn. Hi, Amanda Lynn. And who else do we have? And I cannot pronounce your name. But I see you all the time. Ciciali Rivas? I don't know how to say that. I'm butchering that name. You guys, Michelle, we all have kids who don't listen. So raise your hand. Press like if you have a kid that doesn't listen. Or press love because you do. And it's just... There we go. That's what it is. Our kids don't listen because it is their nature to live their own lives. You know, when I was a kid, I was not listening to my parents because, now think about it, you guys. Think about when you were a kid. Were you not listening because you wanted to make everybody's life hell? Or were you not listening because you felt like somebody did not understand you and you were not being heard and nobody was getting you and you weren't feeling like you were cared about? Right? And when you were really little is because your brain was just a bunch of crazy connections. So go on to Google Teach Through Love and Child Brain Development. Bang, bring you right to the page that gives you sort of the outline. There are tons of resources. But if you want a really quick web page to sort of run down, that is a great one. The Center for Parenting Education in Abington, for you local guys that were on here, they have a great website that outlines the developmental ages, age and stage, and they combine a few different developmental theories. So it sort of gives you a wider whole child perspective of what's going on. But 3-year-old, Angie says, I have a kid that listens the 7th time I've said something. Sometimes it takes a while, right? No, my kid, you know, I don't want my kid to listen. I want my kid to listen to herself, to develop her ability to self-regulate, to get through her strong emotions, to care about other people, to be compassionate and considerate of other people, and to be responsible. That's what I want, because that ultimately, that's what's going to serve her as the adult, because I'm not going to be there to hand out M&Ms or stickers or any of that, right? We say, oh, you know, we always say, well, their boss isn't going to listen to their feelings. I'm like, yeah, well, their boss isn't going to give them stickers either. They're going to get bonuses, right? And the bonus, then they're going to be at the end, they're going to be surrounded by all their stuff. And I'd be like, well, what's missing? I still don't, something's missing. So don't give tricks and rewards and all that for the important stuff. I mean, sometimes people like to give, you know, stickers and M&Ms for potty training. I don't care. I don't think you should even potty train your kids. We all learn to go to the bathroom. But preschool and all these, you know, everybody's like, you gotta train your kid. What do you mean? They're 4. Let go of the pressure. If you have people telling you that your kid isn't doing enough because they should be this age and they should be doing it, you come to my page and you bitch about them there,
and we will support you. And we will listen, and we won't judge it, and we won't say, yeah, you probably should get your kid, potty trained, or maybe you should work on that self-regulation, because they're like, no. We come and we help you reframe it from my kid never listens to my child's, having trouble being flexible when there's a transition. It's so different. It takes so much of the pressure off of us to have these little perfect kids. There's no perfect kids. Eric is saying, as a kid, I used to get screamed at, listen to me when I'm talking to you. Yeah. Who has not heard that? Honestly, who hasn't? I probably have said it. Listen to me when I'm talking to you. Listen to me. See, I'm like hearing myself like say it. I say stuff, and trust me, I yell way less than what I ever experienced, or even than I ever thought I could get past. So you guys, you can do this. No more shitting all over ourselves, Angie says. Yes, because it's so much about self-love that I could sit here and talk to you guys all day, because every situation is different, right? So we could go through even more examples. And I was really general with the examples because you guys didn't post too many questions on here. Let me go back and look. Oh, we do have one. So my 3-year-old starts running around like a maniac when he needs to be calmed. Sometimes I'm making dinner and can't stop to be there. Then he ends up pushing around his little sister who's 1, and he just gets past the point and laughs at everything. So how do I prevent that? So this is one of those situations, Kimmy. We totally feel you, because you got 2 under 5, and a lot of you guys have like 3 kids under 5, and that's chaos, because we have all these children who need us, who need our attention, who need us to be their break. That's what it is, you guys. So the kids under 4, and if your child's over 4 and they still need a break, an extra break system, and by that I mean a physical break, somebody to come in and put on the brakelets, the physical break, stop them from continuing down that road of anger and frustration. The way we prevent it is by noticing. I'm noticing that you're really, frustrated right now. If we say, sometimes I'm making dinner and I can't stop to be there, you just can't expect a 3-year-old to control their impulses. As he gets older, with lots and lots of practice, every time you go and you say, I'm not going to let you hit your sister, stay in the kitchen with me, or she's going to be in this room, and we give them something to stay close. That's how you prevent that. You just can't. Don't give your kids responsibility, you guys, that they can't handle, because you just frustrate yourself, and then you're like, doesn't work. See, it works when I yell. But that's because we're human, and we're made to, when that alarm goes off in the brain that says, this is a threat, that is a protective mechanism. That is meant to save us from actual danger, like death and dying and destruction. Getting caught by a bear, bit by a snake, somebody coming at us. That's what that's there for. I'm going to run away. I'm going to freeze. I'm going to do what I can to survive the situation. But we want our kids to thrive, right? So we're moving from surviving, which is what we all did through our traditional parenting experiences. We survived it. I just can't get on board with saying that traditional parenting, everybody, what works for everybody. Because traditional parenting, it's not like what works. It's, if we're going to use fear, blame, shame, and guilt, that's not, it's good for some kids. No, that's just bad for humans in general. So I'm just going to be a stickler on that, because my whole platform is built on moving away from these really destructive patterns. So if we want to move away from that, we have to recognize that it's slow. We're repatterning what's going on in the brain. We've all had these experiences which shape our responses. I yell because when I was younger, I didn't have self-regulatory tools. No one said, and again, no blame. If I got family watching, that's not about blame. This is about awareness. Like, I know now. I know now that I didn't have self-regulatory tools, that I didn't feel like I had a connection. Doesn't mean people didn't try to make the connection with me, but it means that I didn't feel it because the blame, the shame, the judgment, and the guilt in our language, it got in the way. And so that's why I try to help you pull that all out of your language. I try to give you, we say,
I give you all those examples of the disconnecting words in our conscious communication cards. And then on the other side, this is how you say the same thing and still set that limit. But this is how you do it without sending that message that you are the cause of trouble, that you are the cause of my anger and my unhappiness. Because that's what causes the long-term cycle of negativity. You know, when we walk around, like, who do you think you are? I got that a lot. I got like, who do you think you are? How dare you? And I was like, you know, the big picture in the moment, I was like, I think I'm awesome. Who do you think you are? You know, screw you kind of thing. That's what I did in the moment, right? With my immaturity. Now I go, you know, who did I think who am I? Who was I? Well, I feel like I'm not cared about, which is why you got the defensive me. So do we have reactionary you or do we have responsive you? And responsive you comes from acknowledging that maybe you weren't heard in childhood, or acknowledging that, yeah, maybe you really don't like what's going on in your life right now. And you got to make a small change. You have to start reconnecting with your child, because maybe you've been using punishment for the last 3 years and you've got a 5-year-old who's really resistant. Punishment hardwires us to self-protect. Now, self-protection looks like a lot of things. Sometimes it can look like pleasing people, right? You might have a people pleaser, the kid who's so good, and then that kid like surprises you when they do something, and and school calls one day, and suddenly you're like, what the hell? What happened? Where did I go wrong? Right? So when kids self-protect, it doesn't mean that they're always going to lash out. Sometimes they're going to shut down and go within. And we have to consider what that means too for our relationships, for their skill development. So I would lash out as a child because I was intensely overwhelmed by what I was feeling. That nobody really talked about sensory processing, autism, Asperger's, highly sensitive people. Although I was on the Feingold diet, which limited preservatives, chemicals, and things, which definitely affected my mood and behavior and still does. So if you have a kid and they're getting things like red 40 in their, their fruit snacks or their whatever, pull that stuff out of the diet, you guys. And I'm not talking about sugar even, though I'm not going to say sugar is good, but some of these chemicals are banned in other countries or they have warning labels, because of their effect on behavior, on our neurological system. I mean, food, gut, brain, it all works together. So sometimes it's not, I got to work on getting my kid a better diet because I can see that I'm feeding them boxed food all the time, and this is what's possibly creating this neurological issue where they're moody, or they're really angry, depressed. So much of that can be caused by food, but sometimes again we got to go back to, is this a skill challenge with my kid because they're just too little? The 3-year-old or the 4-year-old or the 5-year-old who has trouble stopping their body. We get so upset with the kid who can't stop their body, or the kid who we say don't do that and they do it. And we're like, are you kidding me? I just told you not to. And then our rage comes up. How dare you? No disrespecting me. And we let ourselves get run by that message. You're being disrespected. So you better stop that. You better nip that one in the bud. Right? And then we butt heads. We don't get anywhere with that. We might shut down our kids. We might prime their brain for looking for the threat in a situation. Do you ever use your kid's name every time you call them, or every time you need something or you're frustrated? And then you go to call them and they're just like, they've numbed out to that. They've shut it down. They're not listening to that. So how can you create the environment that you need? If you know that dinner time is a challenge, how can we change up what happens when you have to make dinner so that we know that the kids are not going to be in the position where they're going to scratch at each other or fight? Or we know that the 3-year-old, the 3-year-old maybe can get the stool and help you make dinner and give them, 3-year-olds love to put their hands in stuff. So can you give them physical sensory play to do close by to you? And again, every kid's going to be different. So there really is no
answer, but they end up pushing, you know, what do we say to that kid? Looks like you're a little bit bored, that I'm busy in there cooking dinner and your sister's not playing with you, and you got really frustrated. I can't let you hit her. It's not okay. You know, and suddenly the kid goes, in their brain is saying, okay, this is safe. The action was still wrong. Mom is still, you know, we can tell by her tone and by what she's doing, placing herself as a physical boundary, that this is not okay. Right? We still send that message, but we don't need to use force or power. I'm going to take it away. You better not. Why can't you stop? Just listen to me. Because that just makes the young brain, any brain, honestly. Have you ever walked into a room where people are arguing or somebody's like telling somebody what to do? I get stressed out just thinking about that. It totally stresses me out. I don't want to be in a room like that where people are speaking to each other in that way. I had a Facebook quote go around, really popular a long time ago, because it said, it was a picture of my daughter when she was like very little, and she was sort of doing all these little poses, and one was like this, and it said, if you spoke to me the way you, if you spoke to your friends the way you most often, or the way you, much of the time, I don't know what I said, the way you most often speak to me, I bet you wouldn't be friends for very long. This is not to say that, you know, you have to be a friend to your child, but that just really consider how you sound when you're asking them to do things in the words that you're saying. I'm gonna go up, see, there were some more questions posted at the bottom. Maria's saying Kimmy's saying that's one of my biggest issues, taking it too personally. Yes, and so much of that, you can really let that go by be aware of it. Because, you know, so many of us are taking things personally because we're just conditioned that way. We that's just what our brains do. But when we step out of it and we go, I'm feeling angry, feeling hurt, I've had a long day, I really just wanted this to go this way, and it's not. When we acknowledge that in ourselves, when we acknowledge that I just needed an hour of quiet and I'm not getting it, right? When we don't push it away, and because we'll try to hold in our anger and then go deal with the kids, and it comes out through the gritted teeth like this, right? Because we're trying to keep it back, but we haven't actually dealt with it yet. Sarah said, my son just came up to me and said, is she teaching you how to be nice? And you guys, this is what our kids think. They think that we're not being nice and it's their fault. And we so don't mean it. I know that we want to be nice to our kids, okay? So you guys know, I have total faith in you. I know that you want the best for your kids. I know that you want cooperation, and I know that you believe that you deserve respect. And you do, you totally do. But you can't demand it, right? You can't pull it from people and be like, give me respect. Damn it. Because then, you know, the person's just like, okay, you're a scary person. Like, go away. I'm going to tiptoe around you. And sometimes I can't keep it together. The little ones, they can't keep it together. They can't, but they want to. Final questions? I could stay for a little. I know we're going over time, but let's just see what I missed here. I'm going to go through my pages because... And I know that you guys, if you sent questions and we didn't get to the specifics of them, it's because, again, I want you to go through the processes so that you can start to find your own answers, right? So if you sent in a question and we didn't speak to it specifically, this is what I want you to do. Skills, stress, state of the relationship. What do I need to work on most? My child defying me in this moment because they feel a lack of power. They feel helpless in the situation. They feel defensive because I'm in a defensive position, like physical defensive position. Am I intimidating in my voice, in my body? Check yourself for those things. Sometimes, it's not even sometimes, that's my biggest thing. That's what I do, is I like try to hear my tone differently in my head. And I have a couple of different friends that I picture, like, how would they say it? Because they have very calming, nurturing voices. And it doesn't mean that they're always calm and nurturing by any means, but it means that it gives me a reframe. Like, I can't necessarily reframe it in my head because this is what it's coming out like. But I can think, oh, how would so-and-so say it? And sometimes I say, just think about Mr. Rogers. How would he say it? Because he's very even and calm. And, obviously if you need to yell stop, you yell stop. If you need to pull somebody back from being hurt or separate, you do that. And then you take a deep breath and you go, wow, that was really scary for me. I thought somebody was going to get hurt. I don't want you guys to get hurt, but I can see you're having an argument, and this is really important to both of you. Nobody yells if it's not important. Right? So we go in and we give our kids this message that says you're important, and what you have to say is also important, and I need to hear about it. But I gotta wait. We gotta wait till we calm down, until we're not stressed out. That's the message that you send when you come in and you say those things. And then again, there's so much that we don't have to do it right in the moment. We think we have to do it right in the moment, but we don't. Little kids, pick them up, hold them, you're safe. I'm not going to let anybody hurt you, but you can't hit. And then we let them have the wah, we scream and cry, right? And we offer them tools. Sometimes, your cuddle is going to do a lot. You don't have to say anything. Right? Don't follow your kid around the store saying, no, you can't have that because, no, you've already asked. Stop asking because. You say, I know you'd really like that. Where would you put it in your room if we could get it? I'm going to write that down on my list because this is something I might want to come back to. You guys, and I'm not saying this is like, because again, it's not magic fixes. But that validation, somebody saying, oh yeah, this is important, definitely, let's put this on the list. Completely different feeling than when somebody says, no, that's, I said we weren't buying anything today. Why are you asking me? Or no, it's not in the budget today. I'm not going to do it. And then, well, I want it. No, well, let's think about it. And we start wanting to, engage in this argument or negotiation. We want to prove our point about why it shouldn't be done today. Engage in your children's desires and wants without feeling like you have to fulfill that. You don't have to change their upset. You have to let them experience it. You really do have to let them experience it. And a lot of that upset that comes out when they're 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, God, when they're 11, 12, 10, 9 even, as they get older, as my daughter says, when you get past 9, you do a lot less screaming and yelling. That was what she noticed for herself. Once she hit 9, she felt way more able to regulate her behaviors on a consistent basis. But sometimes she still has, those emotional meltdowns. If you have kids on the spectrum, and there's, we say, oh, is it a tantrum or a meltdown? For me, once our alarm center has gone, it's gone, and the intensity of what we feel, the intensity of the anger or the upset or the frustration may be different for children, but it's not, children on the spectrum are not cognitive about it, and then my kid, because they're neurotypical, they're defying me because they want to be. No, I'm frustrated, and I lose control of my cognitive conscious thoughts when I'm stressed out, when I'm afraid. I can't put my words together. And all of that becomes, and it impacts behavior. It becomes one of the variables that we have to consider in behavior. So we have to reduce the stress sometimes. We have to say, you know what, you're feeling overwhelmed. I don't want to talk about this decision right now because we need to calm down. I need to help you get through this frustration that you're feeling. I noticed that your face is squished up, offering a hug. Would you like a hug? I offer my kid a hug when she's mad. And sometimes she says no and she wants to go be by herself. And sometimes she just falls right into me. Kids want you to ask them. They want you to sit. They want you to tell them, I will care for you in this moment. That's really what they want. When they're in those, it's really scary for children to be in those frightening, angry meltdowns, or however we want to label them. It's really scary for them. They don't want to be there. They're not trying to not get out of it. But if you can kind of catch them before they get to that place where they have to then You have to wait it out. I gotta let all these tears come out. Sometimes there's a backlog. So if you're looking at a child who's, really resistant and defiant, and you know that it's not from this, control perspective, and you know that there's not extra stress, sensory stress, or it hasn't been a long day at school, you want to look at what skills do they have, and what tools can I give them to help build these skills? Because sometimes it's about skill development. Those connections to self-regulation are slow and weak in young children. When you say don't hit, that doesn't make the brain go, oh, yep, plug that in, computer, don't hit, got it. No, it just doesn't work that way. And I know so many parents think that it does, because you've got other people out there going, oh, you put them in a timeout for every year of their age, and that'll teach them. That's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. I'm sorry. I'm going to say that straight up. Hate me, love me. That's stupid. It's so stupid. I can't even. Yes, time to calm down. Totally. But sending your child away for 3 minutes when they're 3, don't do that. You don't want to do that, because it's not going to help you. It's really not going to help you. I'm not saying you're stupid for doing it. I'm saying the person that came up with that idea and then told it to parents, that was a stupid idea. It doesn't work. What it will, and people say, oh, it works. You don't need to comment. I know that it works to create fear. I know that temporarily we can put that Band-Aid on it because we want to connect with people. Our children want to connect with us. But then what does the 3-year-old, who's now going to be a 4.5-year-old, when they get angry, right? They get frustrated in that situation, because whatever it was, that we all get frustrated, and life is about learning to deal with obstacles. When they're in that moment, you're not there, they're not gonna remove themselves from the situation. They're just not. The brain has not been given a tool or the connection. Now, if you guys go and you sit with that 3-year-old for that 3 minutes, and you say, you know what, we gotta take this time out together. We have to remove ourselves from the situation, or I'm going to remove you from the situation because it's not safe, and because you're having a hard time. That's different, right? That's not punishment timeout. That's not like I'm talking about the dunce cap timeout, where you tell the child and you sit them and then you walk away and you leave. Right? Have you ever watched an episode of one of the nanny shows? And how many times do those children get back up? Some children, I would have been one of those, they're like, they run right after you. Some are like, don't leave me. Please don't leave me, or I don't want to. That sense of loss is very real for children, because they don't know that it's going to end, especially a 3-year-old. That 3 minutes doesn't mean anything to them. So it's just like this long time looking around like, oh my God, is it going to be over? And, that's so stressful. That's so stressful for children. And what do we do? What does stress do? It limits our behaviors, our perspective, and our learning even further. Somebody said I stopped doing, what they say? Oh, I stopped doing timeouts, but now my 3-year-old gets nervous when we step away, saying, please don't put me on a timeout. That's what I mean. For them, their brains aren't connecting to, oh, make a different decision. This is safe. I've got help. Somebody's going to help me. And then we get really strong with being able to regulate ourselves in the moment. We go, oh my God, I'm afraid. And then we shut down. Our thinking shuts down. And so then we keep getting afraid in the moment, and all we have is what we are born with, our survival brain, our instincts to fight, run away, totally freeze. Maria's saying, what consequences do you use for inappropriate behavior? I don't use consequences. The consequences are natural. But if you're new to my page, I've written a lot about it. We can't really talk about all that right now, because that's a completely different conversation. This is a shift into giving quality, effective feedback. A natural consequence, if somebody's throwing a shoe, the natural consequence is, I'm going to come over and I'm going to take that shoe from you, because that is not safe. I'm being sarcastic right now, but that's what I would do. That's the consequence. Is somebody's going to come in and stop you from doing that. And someone's going to come in and then help you regulate, right? So it's about not looking at the behavior. What was driving the behavior? If I want to give a consequence, I need to look at what's my goal. My goal is, what skill am I working on? Is it a skill of self-regulation? Is it the skill of patience? You know, a lot of kids don't have patience, and then we get upset. Be patient or you're going to lose your turn. And then they're like, oh crap, I'm immature and I'm going to get blamed for being immature. It's all the backwardsness that we have in these parenting ideas. But a lot of it comes from the fact that we weren't supported as children. And then if you are now in a community where everybody's sort of using that same traditional approach, you're not supported doing it differently, so you completely feel really stuck. Alyssa's saying that her punishments with her son, she's saying it was all ego, self-serving, and I can't let go of this guilt. You know, I can't tell you, Alyssa, let go of that guilt, because just like telling your kids to not feel bad or to feel better isn't going to do anything. But expressing it, hearing other people's stories, this is really what I think helps bring us out of that place of shame and you know, feeling bad about what we've done in the past. And because I've made a lot of errors in judgment with my kid because I was stuck in this place. But those errors aren't on a regular basis anymore. You know, they're not on a regular basis, and they change. It's not like I don't do certain things anymore that I've really taken control of, because I've noticed how it affects our relationship mostly. Like, her behavior is completely tied to how connected to me she feels, and her skill set, right? So 3-year-olds, very little impulse control. When they're feeling good and like they're getting everything they want, yeah, they can control their impulses because everything's good. But as soon as they get frustrated, they lose it because it's emotionally overwhelming for them. They don't have the experience to make it through, and they don't have the maturity to stop themselves in the moment. So that's why we need, you know, the parents or the adults to come in. Colleen's asking, is there a list of skills that I can use to think about this? I'm not sure what you mean exactly. In my sensitive kids class, there's a lot of skill building, brain building activities for different ages. So, and that's to strengthen the executive center. So when we think about skills, I think about it as being the executive center for the most part, because that's what allows us to be empathetic, self-regulate, make good decisions, right? Think about, so a 3-year-old, when we give a consequence to a 3-year-old, 3-year-olds don't have the ability to plan, to predict consequences, to see very far in the future, to remember things. So we tell the 3-year-old or the young child, don't do this, and then we walk out of the room and they do it. We come back and we give the consequence and we go, well, I gave them warning, and we feel justified in that. But we have to understand the brain development. So I gave, once this is over, you guys can scroll back to the video, some of those resources for the brain development that I talked about, Center for Parenting Education. And that will help you at least go, okay, what is my child, or just Google Teach Through Love and child brain development, and it'll come up with, what's going on in the brain at those different ages. Because once you understand what your child's actually capable of, it helps you readjust a lot of those expectations that you may have had that were inappropriate just because your child's skill set wasn't actually there. But every kid's going to be different. A 5-year-old, a typical child might start to gain a lot of mastery, over their ability to self-regulate sometime between 5 and 7. Sensitive kids sometime between 7 and 9, which is really accurate because my daughter's own self-awareness said to her that when she was 9, suddenly she felt more in control. So I thought that was really neat for her to figure that out on her own, and it very much went along with the current developmental science that we know. So it's making these relationships better, you guys, to create more peace in our homes. And if you haven't watched our 3-lesson series, It's totally free. It's not going to stay up forever, so catch it now, at least through the end of this month. If you haven't seen it, if you don't like to watch videos, I got transcripts for you guys this time. So there's transcripts which you can download and keep forever, and the activities. You can go click on the links. I think I included a link in this website, but if not, I will make sure that that we post it in there. So if you didn't sign up for that preview series, if you want the book Rest, Play, Grow, if you have a little one under 4 preschooler and you want to join, get a chance to win that book, I'm not going to choose it now because I need my assistant to do it and I didn't really work out the details and I don't even have the book with me. But post, yes, I want a copy in there, and we will choose from you guys in the comments who wants that book. And actually we'll choose that right at, we're going to choose that at 3 o'clock. So if you didn't watch this live, but you are catching it, you can go ahead and still comment for the next half hour or so once we close up, and we'll choose that live, and then we'll post the winner on there, and we'll figure out how to get in touch with you. So yeah, Dan Siegel's books, Alyssa's saying Dan Siegel's books are on development are phenomenal. Yes, definitely. Really good. All of Dan Siegel's books. The one, if you have a teenager, Brainstorm, give you a lot of relief to think that, okay, I know that my kid is going to be going through, like, the brain completely transforms in the teenage years. So if you feel like, oh, I made it through toddlerhood, right now I'm hanging on, I'm like getting ready, buckle down, we're going into the tween ride. It's going to be a ride. Feels like it's going to be a ride. And this is going to be challenging, I think, because this is where I feel like there's so much stigma, and mothers and daughters and, teens, when they get to that age, they're going to not like you and they're going to resist. And yeah, their brains do go through so much change. And there are things that are developmentally purposeful, like arguing. So, if your teen wants to argue, let them flex those muscles. That's building the skill. You can have constructive arguments. Okay, and how you do that is our process of communication. It's about walking through the steps of, this is what I'm hearing you say. Is that true? Reflecting comes with, let me reflect back what I'm hearing you say, and then we can reflect on things together. Maria's asking if I have book recommendations on my site. I do. If you go to my website, teachthroughLove.com, and then click on the Start Here button, that should take you to what is conscious parenting, essentially, that page. If you look on the right-hand side, scroll down to the bottom, you should see a link that says Books I Love. And it's to my old Amazon store, which is not actually, it's an old affiliate, which they don't work anymore, but all the links should still work to the books. That hasn't quite been updated, but the book links are all there. So you can, I've got lots of books, and they were all hand-picked or somebody recommended. So if I didn't read the book, a colleague that I know and trusted has, look at Angie's like amazing. You're like putting the links up there for me. I love her. Angie's one of our certified parenting educators. She finished my program this spring and is doing amazing work with talking about raising, talking about race with kids and raising biracial kids, transracial families, all kinds of things, and conscious parenting. Of course, she's a child advocate. She has advocacy for foster parent or for adoption group. She runs an adoption group. Amazing thing. So thank you, Angie, for posting those links for everybody. You guys, I gotta go, but this is really, really fun. The Peaceful Solutions Preview Series, like I said, you can get that. It'll be up for a couple more weeks. If you want the full series, you can click on the link in the title of this video and get on the list. It's actually opening up today. I know that the website is not live when you click on those links, but if you want the information on my 40-day path to peace, it's the big version, right? I can't give you everything in that hour class that we broke up into those 3 videos, but this is 40 days of very short videos. So it's 1 video a day, like 15 minutes or so, and it's a 40-day path. And then every step is taking you onto the next place. Okay, this is what I work on. Through your tolerance, learning to change your triggers, investigate your past. I posted one of our participants, Maria Piliero, mom of 8 kids, and you guys that have big families, I hand it to you to not only wanting to be conscious and aware, but to be, to do it in a family that there's so many people. My husband grew up the youngest of 12 in a big family as well. And I think about that and I'm just like, how does everybody get this attention? But it's about the nurturing. It's about wanting to give that attention. It's not about, oh, everybody gets what they want. It's not about never having unmet needs, but it's about this willingness to look inside ourselves and change how we see our kids, how we see their behavior, but also how we see ourselves and our ability to parent in that way. And so I'm going to be sharing stories with you of parents who have gone through the 8-week course. I'm not running it. I used to run it where we get together every week and do one big weekly lesson. I don't do that anymore. I actually closed down the program last February, but I'm opening it up again to be on demand. So you guys take it slow, one day. You don't even have to do, 40 days in a row. You can skip some time, but one little piece each day. If you complete all 40 days, there's no way that you cannot experience a transformation. There just isn't. If you actually follow the steps and make those changes and do the work, you absolutely will create changes in your family. So I'm going to offer to my list members, to people who sign up or that are interested, I'm going to offer 10% off and 90 days of support with the class for the next week. So if you want to know more about that, click on the link, enter your email, and I will send you all the details about that. The rest of you guys, thank you so much for joining me. See, Gordon Neufeld is on my list. Oh, Angie must have been answering. Yes, and Gordon Neufeld, Dr. Deborah McNamara, whose book I'm giving away, she is with the Neufeld Institute. She did, I think, her doctoral training with them, and this book is based on that developmental science of attachment and all of that. So, oh, Eric, you rock. Thank you for being a voice, for being a dad voice out there. Eric Green, you guys, one awesome dad if you haven't been to his website. I could talk to you all day, Kimmy. I'm like, look at me. I'm like, oh, I gotta go, but we're just kind of hanging out. So if you have any last minute things to say, I really could. I could talk all day. If somebody posts a question, I should get off before somebody posts a question because I'll feel compelled to speak to it. Thank you guys so much for being here. We're gonna do it again. We do it every month, and Facebook Live is sort of maybe my new place to do it because it's easy. I'm just gonna stop the button. I don't have to edit, record. It's already gonna be up there, and yeah, I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Truly, when I see your words, when you guys email me and tell me how things have changed in your family, I get chills reading these stories sometimes because that's what I want. I just want to help us create more peace in our families, and we're sending out kids who are going to create more peace in the world. So thank you for your commitment to your children and for being here with me today. I look forward to doing it again soon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take care. I don't know how to stop it. Oh, there's the finish button. Okay, bye.